Happy Thursday. Welcome to Bloom Thursdays. I am your host, Lola Moore Johnston, and I am very thrilled to be with you tonight. As you come in, I see some friends. Hello, hello to Shay, to Lisa, to Celeste, to Latanda. Thank you so much for coming in tonight. As you come in, let us know where you're caught or where you're tuning in from. We love to know where you are watching from. So thank you so much for joining us. Again, I am Lola Moore Johnston, and I teach purpose mastery and faithful productivity to women all over the world. And I am excited to be part of your Thursday evening. If you have a friend who needs to hear this, a friend who needs to see this, go ahead and tag them. I see you already starting. I see someone is watching from Atlanta. Hello, ATL. Good evening to you. And I'd love to see where the rest of you are watching from. Bahamas is here, Arizona, Missouri, Memphis, Tennessee. Excellent. We are from everywhere tonight. Go ahead and continue to tag your friends, share, let them know that Bloom Thursdays has begun. I tell you, can you believe? Good evening. How you doing, Miss K? McDonough, Georgia, Maryland, Texas. Yes. Everybody's coming in. Come on in. Come on in. Can you believe it's July already? July the 2nd. I can't. This year has been something else. And it's incredible that no matter what part of the planet we are from, we're all having this crazy experience of the first 6 months of this year being absolutely nuts. I was part of many services and prayers for 2020, and we said this was going to be the year of clear vision. 2020, it's going to be the perfect year, double year, 2020. And then life started to hit the whole planet, and we all started experiencing things that we were not used to. July the 2nd, I'm glad we made it. I'm so glad we've made it this far. And whether you're watching from Orlando or Maryland or Austin, Texas, Bermuda, New York, the Bahamas, Ontario, Canada, I know that God has been keeping us low all of this time. So again, let us know where you're watching from. We are excited that you have joined us on tonight. Well, you know that this weekend is the holiday, July the 4th. I want to ask you to have a safe and happy holiday. Oh man, there's so much stuff going on, and everywhere that is opening up prematurely has had a surge in people who have experienced symptoms and the contracting of COVID-19. And so for you, my listening audience, I want to say please be careful over this weekend. Be safe. You might want to grill your stuff right there in your yard with your family and just be cool and watch the fireworks on television, because it's kind of crazy out there. Y'all are still coming in. Come on in. Let us know where you're watching. I see Washington, D.C., Nashville, Tennessee, Mississippi. And I want to say I'm so grateful. Many of you have already been part of this incredible experience called the 14-Day Purpose Project. If you are a bloomer and you're part of that project, why don't you go ahead and put bloomer in the comments. I want to share with those who are watching who may not have already been a part of that this is the Bloom Everywhere 14-Day Purpose Project. It's 2 weeks of preparation and positioning for purpose. You can follow all of our outlets on social media to, of course, continue to connect with me. But if you want to sign up for the Purpose Project, you want to go to www.bloomwithlola.com. We start a new group on July the 12th. And I'm telling you, the bloomers who are in the comments will let you know that this experience is bar none. It is absolutely incredible. These ladies have been having wonderful experiences, as have I. It is life transforming. And so also, if you wanted to have, some questions answered about the program, of course you can ask me, but these ladies here in the comment can also answer your questions as to what it was like to be part of the Bloom 14-Day Purpose Project. I'm telling you, you will never be the same. Well, as we continue, you all know that there's a book that we're going to be reading together. We already have the majority of this month covered. And so if you don't have your book yet, it's time to get it. It is called Success from the Inside Out by Ms. Nona Jones. I'm going to share it again. I've been sharing it from week to week, but I'm telling you, this book is incredible. Everybody who's been reading it has been just tremendously blessed. And I think that if you read it, that you'll be tremendously blessed as well. We're going to be discussing the book on next Thursday evening at 8 p.m., of course. But let me show you just the advertisement for this book.
I wrote the book Success from the Inside Out because as a survivor of childhood physical and sexual abuse, I was told for so many years that I didn't matter and I didn't have value. And the favor of God was on my life, and He took me to places I would have never imagined in my career. But the brokenness of my past followed me with every successive promotion until I discovered one day that until you forgive the people who broke you, you will never truly understand what it means to be successful. You see, there is a success that empties, and then there is a success that fills. And the only way that you can have a success that fills you is when you remember that God created you with purpose, no matter what title you wear, no matter what car you drive. And I hope that you will enjoy this book because it truly is my story of faith, forgiveness, and redemption. God has a purpose and a plan for your life, and I'm a testimony to that fact.
I'm trying to tell you, you need to get that book. I have placed the link to the book in the comment section. Success from the Inside Out. As you see the people commenting, it is a must read. I was just really moved as I read the book. Not only does she share her story, but she also shares some really critical tips with the reader about how to invest in yourself and how to move through corporate, how to position yourself to be your best, how to bring the best out, and as well, she talks about the incorporation of spirituality and her connection with God as part of her success strategy. I believe that, part of our time during Bloom Thursdays, the whole Bloom movement, is for us to both connect with God and to grow ourselves. And so I want to invite you to go ahead and read that book. Grab the book. You can grab it in multiple platforms. I have it in audio book. You can also grab the physical book if you would like, but make sure that you grab the book. It is a must read. Okay, so tonight I'm actually every time I say I'm not going to be long, I wind up being long. But I don't intend to be long tonight. Tonight I want to talk to you about the second half. We are at July the 2nd. We are at the second half of 2020. And for many of us, the first half of 2020 was not what we expected. So I want to ask you in the comments to just tell me, how's your 2020 going so far? Be honest. You don't have to air your dirty laundry. Just let me know how it's going. It's going well. It's not going so great. Could be better. Or it's better than I expected. How's 2020 going for you? For a lot of us, 2020 caught us by surprise. I remember not really being clear about what 2020 was going to be for me. There's some things that I wanted from 2020, but I wasn't really sure if I would get them. And so I came to 2020 not with a lot of expectation, but man, it was incredible when God, in the beginning of March, completely turned my year around. So the question to you all is, how is 2020 going? Go ahead, go in the comments. Let me know, how is 2020 going for you? How has it been? You've gone through the first half. Let me know, how is it going for you? I'll tell you that I started out the year like a lot of other years that I started out. I was traveling. I went through January at my church. In February, I started traveling for Black History Month, and I was going into March, and I would have done a lot more traveling. And man, all of it just shut right down. And my year turned into something I never thought it would be. So Andrea says that, believe it or not, is better than last year. Isn't it crazy that with all this happening, it could actually be better than last year? Helen Bell says it's going okay. Praise the Lord. Kay Malinga says getting the hang of it, revisiting my original vision. Excellent. Cherie says it started off rough, but it's getting better. Um, Yvette Shields Wilson says the first half was a continuation of 2019, so it's still going. She had a hard year last year, and it started off hard for her too. Um, Karen Fleming says going well, but missing the outside. Yeah. Um, Eustacia giving me more time to refocus and be more stable. Sylvia Stanley says better than I could imagine. Amen. Tawisha Ewan says started off very rough, but it's much better now. So very, very good. Trisha Williams says it's not bad. Um, Angel says it started off kind of rough, but she's hanging in there and going strong. Very good. Patricia Harris is enlightening, but I'm growing. So 2020 has been different for everybody. So the insight that I saw began with a friend of mine, Chip Desard, who did a live a day or so ago. It might have been yesterday. These days are kind of running together for me. But he did a live, and he started his tag phrase was "It's halftime. It's halftime. It's halftime." And so essentially, what his statement was is that at halftime, you have the opportunity to take a pause and to reevaluate everything that happened in the first half. If you're into sports, you realize that at halftime, people have a score that's up, and you the first half you're trying to gain momentum. The second half you're either trying to keep momentum or you're trying to overcome the deficit of the first half. First half is very important for establishing a basis moving forward, but there's people who have won even though the first half was terrible. And so halftime gives you this opportunity to sit down and to evaluate what happened during the first half, and then to make course corrections and to move into the second half. So I wanted to start with the fact that you're at halftime, like Chip Desard said. He's a photographer, phenomenal photographer. If you need anything with regard to photography, I see Gianna Snell. She's also a phenomenal photographer. But Chip was talking about the fact that business was different for him this year. He had a lot of events that he had booked for the beginning of the year. And as people who do those types of events establish their business, they actually book out a long time in advance. And so maybe 3 to 6 months ahead what this time is supposed to be like. But because of the cancellation of so many events, his business went a lot differently than he thought it would. And so it caused him to have to step back and to do something that's called pivoting. Okay. The word pivot means to make a turn and walk in a different direction. So you're walking in this direction, but you see something ahead that will not allow you to continue to move forward. So you make a turn and you walk in a different direction. Still moving forward, but from a different orientation. And so he was needing to pivot. And so he started doing business in other ways, started consulting, started doing photo shoots with people who were not having large events, having small events, commemorating small occasions. And in that way, he was still able to conduct business, but in a different way. And so for a lot of us, when we look at our first half, perhaps you're a person who walked into the first half and just completely got slapped by things that you were not prepared for. Halftime gives you the time to breathe a little bit and to pivot, to know that you may not have the same source of income, but you're going to still need some income. And so the Lord is going to show you some gifts and abilities that you have that you can monetize in order to gain that income. You may find this a time where you have some extra income. You may have gotten unemployment, or you may have gotten settlement that you were not expecting, a grant that you were not expecting, and it allows for you to be able to do something that you didn't think you could do. For myself, I had lots of in person events planned, lots of traveling on the road planned, lots of things planned for trying to roll out a little bit of a business. But when my conference had to be canceled in person, God allowed me to pivot online. Now, let me tell you, I've been wanting to come online for a long time, but I was afraid for so many reasons. I don't feel like I'm a consistent individual. I don't like to have to show up the same time, the same space, the same, all the time. I'm not that kind of person. And so to have to show up week after week, the same time, same space, online, weekly having to have my hair done, weekly having to have my makeup done, all this kind of stuff to sit in front of a camera, that just made me itch. And so I have avoided doing this for so long. But when the quarantine happened, then I had to make a shift, a change. Either I was going to completely shut down and wait for an additional year for my conference to move forward, where a year where everybody would forget about Bloom, a year where the people who had signed up for Bloom probably wouldn't want to be a part of it anymore. We all want their, all of those things caused me to have to make a decision. And so I think there's somebody on here who is also in that position where you are in a corner and you have to make a decision. But that decision that you make does not have to be to fold up and give up. It can be to pivot. You can look over the first half of 2020 and say, man, that was horrible. But you can also make a decision to make a pivot or a shift in the way that you deliver information, in the way that you show up, and to do something different. Man, I was able to do something that was way more successful than what I was going to would have been, because I only had capacity for maybe 300 people in the room. But I was reaching way more than 300 people when I went online. And I want you to look at the opportunities that are in the quarantine for you. It's halftime, as Chip would say. I want you to look over the first half and look at the opportunities. Yes, there were hardships. Yes, things changed for you. Yes, they were unexpected. But how is it that you can maximize some of the opportunities that present themselves there? For a lot of us, the internet is a huge opportunity. It's an opportunity because you can reach people from across the globe just sitting at your computer. You do not have to fold up your business and go away. You can maximize the internet. And a lot of us are afraid to get in front of a camera. A lot of us are afraid to be speaking. And, internet trolls are rough. So you can say one wrong thing and then people just come for you. And we have allowed the fear of the trolls to keep us from living out our purpose in this new space. Let me tell you, there are people who are prospering in this season with these cards. As somebody would say, there's somebody who would love to have your hand. They would love to have your hand. They could do a lot with the cards in your hand. I want you to look at the opportunities that you have, the skills that you possess, the degrees that you earn, the skills that you learn, and find new ways of presenting your product. For example, I had, somebody said, a couple from New York sent my nonprofit $300. I don't know those people. Listen, there are people who don't know you, but if they knew that you existed, your cause would prick their heart and they would sow into your ministry. It happened to me too. When people, when they connect over the lines, it might not be something, nobody's able to really connect face to face. And so you also have this atmosphere where everybody will understand that they're not seeing you face to face. Everybody will understand that you're trying to figure out how to get your camera together. Everybody will figure out or will understand that you're on a learning curve. We're all at a learning curve. This is the perfect time to get started. I was going to say something else. I want to make sure that I don't forget it. This is the other thing that I want you to be mindful of, okay? Be mindful of the fact that there are people who are dying for the information that you have. Just the information. Several hairdressers that I know who were unable to interact with people personally to do their hair pivoted and started to have online sessions with people for the same amount as a hairdo to teach people how to do their own hair. And so they would sit down with a client over the internet, and for say $50, they would sit down and talk to the client about their hair, talk to the client about different kinds of products that they could use in their hair so that their hair would be well taken care of during the quarantine. They pivoted. What information do you have that people could, really benefit from? I know my husband is a teacher, and there are so many people who are like having a really tough time teaching concepts to their children. If you're a teacher, I mean, you could do a lot of good if you just taught parents how to teach these concepts to their kids. Do you know how much people would, you see what I'm saying? You have to figure out ways to pivot. And so in halftime, we're going to reevaluate what happened in the beginning, and we're going to find out what the opportunities are in the first half of the year. What are the opportunities that lie there? Everybody is on the internet. Everybody is looking for information. Everybody is trying to figure something out. And so, if you have answers to a question, especially an obscure question, understand that there's somebody who is trying to figure out what it is that you have the answer to. This is the other part about the second half. When I go running, I'm trying to get back into it, but I have a coach that prompts me in my Nike Run Club app. They have a GPS, and every so far that you run, they give you these prompts. And one prompt that I love that this virtual coach gives is that if you pay attention to your time at about half the time, then you know that you can run faster the second half than you did the first half. You spend the first half warming up. You spend the first half learning the terrain. The first half, your body is getting used to actually the running action and everything, but your body is warm for the second half. And so he said, if you pay attention to your time, you know that you can push just a little harder. You can have a little more energy, a little more air, a little more stride. You can just, reach a little bit further for the second half. And let me tell you, the first half, all of us have been slapped down. But now that we're about a quarter in, 13 to 15 weeks into quarantine, we have quarantine down. You know pretty much how to keep your children occupied for long spans of time. You've had 15 weeks that you've been dealing with this. You kind of know how to get onto a Zoom meeting now. You might not have mastered all of the different functions of a Zoom meeting, but you know how to get on a Zoom meeting now. You know how to schedule your time now. You know how to manage yourself now that you have been away from work and teleworking now. And so now is the time to really press into your life, press into your purpose, press into what it is that you're doing to start to create these opportunities for you to flourish. If you know how to occupy your children for long periods of time, can you multitask and get something done for your hobby, your business, your purpose? If you know how to telework and how to get your work and stuff done, can you do your work in certain spurts and then also have spurts for your hobby? I don't know. Can you put together a manual for people who might be coming behind you who are trying to do the same work that you're doing, teleworking, because you know your job and how it is done there in the office? Are there some best practices that you can put together in order to share maybe some things that might get lost? There's some opportunities here. So I want to ask you, as you reevaluate what your performance was that first half, I want you to also start to press the pedal on this second half. You're warmed up now. You know, you are no longer surprised by the fact that you're trapped in the house with your kids. You're no longer surprised by the fact that you and your spouse are in the house and trying to figure out how to talk. By God's grace, you figured that out by now. Or you have employed a therapist who's helped you figure that out, hopefully. So I want to ask you, how can you now press into this second half? What can you do to now maximize this time that you have at home? Maximize this time that you have with a relaxed schedule. It's not as much traffic out there, not as many obligations. How do you maximize this time? And I really believe that if you find ways to automate the things that you know how to do. What do I mean? So there are some things that should not require a whole lot of energy. It is the power of habit. Charles Duhigg, he talks about when we do things, the same thing like in routines, that it requires less and less brain power for us to get this thing done. And so in that, when we figure out habits, or when we put together routines, those routines now give us the space and the mind space, the margin to now do a little bit more. So what can you automate in your life? What is it that you can take the emotional and creative energy out of so that you have more emotional and creative energy over here? So if some of us do this already, but I'm just using these as examples. If you know that you have to have meals for 5 days of the week and you want those meals to be healthy, can you put together a meal plan on Sunday for all of your meals during the week, so that you're not always standing in the middle of the refrigerator or in the middle of the kitchen trying to figure out what to make? Can you just chart out your meals and take that out? When you go shopping, you get all of your ingredients for those meals, and you go ahead and cook them. Maybe cook for a day or two in advance, so that now you have more emotional energy to do other things. What can you delegate? So I think I was sharing last week that I had a email list that I wanted to move from one service to another. It would have taken me 2 or 3 hours, but I took the $20 that it would have taken for me to get for it. I took the $20 and I paid somebody to do that for me, to save me the emotional energy and the time and the stress of getting that done. I just talked to my church clerk and I told her, hey, I'm going to give you these things. And I'm just going to give you all the material. I want you to take care of that, because it was taking me a lot of time and energy to do this. And I know that for some of us, it may just be me. So let me own that. If it's not you, then I'm just say it's me. Sometimes I like feeling important, and so I keep my plate full, but it also keeps me ineffective. And so what I have to learn to do, what I am trying to teach myself to do, is to delegate tasks that I do not necessarily have to be responsible for, so that I can be fully present for the things I need to be responsible for. Today, someone called me to do a funeral. I need to be there to do that. But I don't necessarily have to be the person to pick up the mail. I don't necessarily have to be the person to open up a door. I don't necessarily have to be the person to drop off a meal. There's other people who can do that. So we want to start to delegate the things that we don't necessarily have to be responsible for, so that we have more time and energy to be present for the things we do. So what tasks can you delegate in your life? What is it that you can delegate? I know some people who use Instacart because they don't want to take the time to be in the grocery store. That's a delegation that you can make. There are some areas that have healthy meals that are already made. I know this guy Well, he's a virtual mentor. I don't know him personally, but this guy who just purchases his meals at the beginning of the week. He's a single guy and he wanted to make sure that he was eating healthy meals. And so he goes to a service and he orders all of his meals at the beginning of the week so that he's eating healthy and he's not always trying to run around finding something to eat. It keeps his weight together and he's eating well. So that's one less thing that he has to be, just thinking about. And there are lots of places in our lives where we can delegate. So I want you to find a task in your life that you can delegate to someone else. Maybe it's, delegating that it's your kids that wash the dishes and not you. Maybe it's delegating that one spouse drops off kids and the other spouse picks up kids. Maybe it's delegating your laundry service. Maybe it's you sharing some tasks with another woman in your neighborhood. Maybe you guys know that you need to pick up dry cleaning on Friday, and so one person drops off all of the dry cleaning on Monday, and the other person picks up all of the dry cleaning on Friday, and you guys, pull your resources together. Find ways to maximize your time. Is this making sense? So look at this. The second half is a time where you're going to evaluate how the first half went and you're going to find ways to maximize your energy, time, and gifts in the second half. I'm telling you that this second half, there are going to be some crazy things that will happen. Okay, we have an election coming in November, so the news cycle is going to become more intense. You already know that you don't thrive watching the news hours for hours for hours. So you give yourself 1 hour a day, if that, to watch the news. Go through one cycle and you cut it off. You already know that social media will suck you in and keep you there for hours and hours. So maybe give yourself a time in the afternoon or the evening to look at social media after you have been productive in the morning. You already know that you have work tasks and home tasks to do. How do you now look at the major tasks that you do every week? You do laundry, you do cooking, you do all those kinds of things. And with that being said, how do you now group the things that you need to get accomplished so that you can get more done? I'm telling you, this second half is going to be amazing if you use the first half to learn from and then press into the second half. I believe, let me tell you, there's some things that God has shown me and some things that I'm planning for the second half that are going to be astounding. And so I know that I have to put myself together. I need to make sure that my schedule is right and that I have enough bandwidth, because what is coming is going to take me to another level. And so I have to be faithful at this level. I need to check all of my little boxes at this level and make sure that I got it straight on this level, because the next level is going to be bananas. And that's the same thing for you. What can you automate? What can you delegate? What can you eliminate? Oh, I like that. Let me say it again. What can you automate? What can you delegate? What can you eliminate? Let me write that in the post. Ah, that's good. What can you automate? What can you delegate? And what can you eliminate? Lord already told me this morning that the first day or so of the month that he and I are going to sit down and we're going to look through my bills, because it's too stressful for me to do it, like to look at my bank account and just be like thinking about bills all throughout the month. So we're going to sit down one day and we're going to do the bills together. By God's grace, I have a supportive husband, so my husband will sit with me and we're going to do those bills together once a month. Get it done and be done with it. I know that for 2 weeks out of the month, for the next few weeks, for the next few months, I'm going to be teaching a class. And so that means that my schedule for my church and everything has to be tight so that I can get this class done. I know that I want to maintain my weight. And I'm thanking God, my husband maintains good weight too. So that means that we have to have healthy meals. So there's some values that I'm assessing to see how can I automate, what can I delegate, and how can I eliminate things that are not helpful to me. I hope this is helpful to you tonight. If this message is helpful, I hope that you'll share it with someone else, because I want to see you win. I want to see 2020 be the most amazing year for you, not just in your personal life, in your professional life, but in your spiritual life. How can we make more space so that we can spend time with God, so we can get revelation from Him, fresh revelation right from the throne of God, in order to move forward? That's why we make this space. That's why we go ahead and all of the things that we don't have to just be piddling around with every day, we move them out of the way to make space and make room. Make room for rest, make room for creativity, make room for your spirituality. And I'm telling you, it is going to be amazing. I want to remind you again that on next week, we are going to be looking at the book Success from the Inside Out. That is Miss Nona Jones. She is the liaison for faith partnerships for Facebook. Her website is nonajones.com and /book. I want you to make sure that you get it, please. Please get it so that you can read it over the 4th of July weekend. You can listen to it on audiobook. The story is amazing. Please come ready to discuss it next week. I want to talk to you. I want to hear your questions and your takeaways from the book. I think it is amazing. And then if you have a chance, we are starting our next installment of the 14-day purpose project. It begins on July the 12th. And so I want to ask you to go to bloomwithlola.com. www.bloomwithlola.com. Sign up. We have so many people who are signing up now, and I'm telling you, it's an incredible experience. We can help you to crystallize your purpose, so now you know in the second half where you're going, how to move forward in a way that is like succinct and tight packed, so that you are getting the most out of your year. Well, thank you so much tonight. Wherever you are, make sure you subscribe. Please, if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and hit that little bell, so that when we do go live, that you are aware of what it is that we're doing. We'll be on the road next week talking about success from the inside out, and I surely hope that you will join us. So thank you so much for being a part of Bloom Thursdays tonight, and happy holiday weekend. I don't know whether or not you're celebrating July 4th. But take a break. Whether or not you choose to celebrate Independence Day, take a break, get some barbecue, get something cold, and enjoy your weekend. All right? God bless you. Take care. Good night.